He went from orphan to the U.S. Army's youngest major general by the time he was 37 years old. He was called the Jumping General because he parachuted with his troops instead of commanding from safety. He led the 82nd Airborne Paratrooper Division in 4 major engagements in Europe during World War II. This is the story of legendary military hero Lieutenant General James Gavin, the soldier who led from the front. Next on Mark in History. This is the historical marker for U.S. Army General James M. Gavin. His marker is located here in his boyhood town of Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. As a young commander in World War II, Gavin reshaped airborne warfare. Known as the Jumping General, he led from the front, parachuting into combat alongside his paratroopers. Let's learn more about the man behind the marker. James M. Gavin was born in Brooklyn, New York on March 22, 1907. He never knew his birth parents. When he was about 2 years old, he was placed in the Convent of Mercy Orphanage in Brooklyn. Later, he was adopted by Martin and Mary Gavin, a poor mining family from Mount Carmel, Pennsylvania. He grew up hard, hungry, and determined. A combination of family conflict and limited future opportunities in his coal mining hometown caused Gavin to run away from home on his 17th birthday. He took his life savings and the night train to New York City on March 22, 1924. After a week with no success in seeking employment in New York City, Gavin spoke to a sergeant at a U.S. Army recruiting station. On April 1, 1924, James M. Gavin was sworn in as a recruit at age 17 and 8 days. What he didn't know yet was that one day he would become a lieutenant general. 14 months after enlistment, Gavin's intellect and discipline earned him a West Point appointment. During his time there at the U.S. Army Military Academy, he devoured military history late into the night. He knew that his future lay in adapting new ideas to the ancient science of warfare. After 4 years of hard work, Cadet Gavin graduated in June 1929. After his commencement, he received a commission as a second lieutenant. That September, 22-year-old Gavin married his first romance and sweetheart, Irma Bowlier, known as Peggy, a pretty, fun-loving resident of Washington, D.C. Their daughter Barbara was born in 1934 while Gavin was away. Unfortunately, Army life did not treat their marriage well. Although his marriage to Peggy seemed finished by 1938, their baby Barbara took a strong hold on Gavin's affection. Gavin believed in swift movement and machines that could deliver the military blow decisively. This is what attracted him to aviation, and a post at the Brooks Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas in 1929. However, young Gavin flunked out of military pilot school. He was told he was not pilot material. During the same year, Brooks Field hosted a pioneering mass parachute jump. It was a daring demonstration to test Master Sergeant Erwin Nichols' backpack parachute invention. The jump involved 18 men being lashed to the wings of biplanes and jumping from those planes. This stint literally gave birth to the U.S. Airborne Infantry. Ironically, the Jumping General would not become involved in parachutes until 12 years later, when he applied for airborne duty and parachute training at Fort Benning, Georgia. After Brooks Field, Gavin was posted to Camp Harry J. Jones near Douglas, Arizona, on the U.S.-Mexican border in 1930. This camp housed one of the Buffalo Soldier units, the all-black 25th Infantry Regiment. This was Gavin's first real contact with black Americans. Gavin stayed in this posting for 3 years while coaching the 1930 Regional Championship basketball team. Maybe because of this experience, he became colorblind. In 1947, General Gavin would do his part to help integrate the two-colored U.S. Army. beginning with his incorporation of the all-black Triple Nickel Parachute Infantry Battalion into the 82nd Airborne Division. In August 1941, Gavin began training at the new parachute school at Fort Benning, Georgia. Colonel William C. Lee, known as the father of American Airborne, tasked Gavin to develop the tactics and basic rules of airborne combat. His first action was writing FM 31-30, Tactics and Techniques of Airborne Troops. The manual contained information about tactics, but also about the organization of the paratroopers, what kind of operations they could execute, and what they would need to execute their task effectively. Later, when Gavin was asked what made his career take off so fast, he would answer, "I wrote the book." The 82nd was first activated during World War I as an infantry division in the U.S. Army. Its famous insignia patch is the AA, standing for All-American, which reflected the unique composition of the 82nd. It had soldiers from all 48 states. In the spring of 1942, Lee and Gavin traveled to Army headquarters in Washington, D.C. to discuss the order of battle for the 1st U.S. Airborne Division. The 82nd Infantry Division was selected to be converted into the 82nd Airborne Division. In August 1942, Gavin became the commanding officer of the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment at Fort Benning. At age just 35, James Gavin was promoted to colonel. Gavin built this regiment from the ground up. He led his troops on long marches and realistic training sessions, creating the training missions himself and leading the marches personally. He placed great value on having his officers the first out of the airplane door and the last in the chow line. This practice has continued today with U.S. airborne units. Gavin was always intrigued with new warfare technology. The latest gadget was an experimental parachute that could be jumped either static line or free fall. Gavin decided to try it in free fall mode. Unfortunately, instead of using rubber bands to stow bundled lines when packing the chute, as the designers had specified, someone had substituted string because rubber was in short supply. Gavin's chute malfunctioned, and he only got the reserve out at the last possible second. Between 1943 and 1945, Gavin wrote more than 200 letters to his daughter Barbara, beginning when she was only 9 years old. From Sicily through Germany, Gavin's letters captured the day-to-day realities of combat in Europe with uncommon clarity and grace. These letters were published in the book The General and His Daughter. Writing from foxholes and airplanes and muddy tents and castles, he was a teacher, historian, and a loving father. Gavin wrote this letter several days after the invasion of Sicily and his heroic actions against the Germans at the Battle of Yazoo Ridge. Dear Babe, well, it was a good fight, but the censor will not let me tell you about it. I didn't miss a minute of it. Believe I got a Purple Heart for a minor wound to the leg. Never felt better in my life. Tell you more about it some other time. Love, Pappy. After the 82nd Airborne successfully jumped during the invasion of Salerno, Gavin gets a promotion from colonel to brigadier general. Being only 36 years old at the time, Gavin was one of the youngest Army officers to become general during World War II. Gavin writes to his daughter about his promotion and a dock in pay. This being a general has some nice things about it, I've been told, but in my case, unfortunately, it means a reduction in pay. There is a technicality that takes away my jump pay. There's not supposed to be a parachute general in an airborne division. It seems silly since I will continue to jump anyway, but red tape is red tape. Love, Pappy. While fighting was still going on in Italy, General Gavin was back in Sicily training and perfecting his new military team for the 82nd Airborne called Pathfinders. Pathfinder teams were elite troops and pilots who were experts in navigation and infiltration. They would locate the drop zones in the dark and mark them with lamps and radio beacons. Eureka ground-based transponders sent wireless signals to the lead paratrooper plane equipped with a Rebecca transceiver. If the lead plane was shot down, a second system of colored lamps were used to guide the masked paratrooper drop. This created a better than 90% success rate. Gavin's idea would be instrumental in the success of the D-Day night drops. Gavin's reward for his battles in Sicily and Italy was to be included in the planning of the long-awaited Normandy invasion. In November 1943, Gavin was temporarily assigned as advisor to General Eisenhower in London, England, on matters of airborne deployment. June 5, 1944, the night before D-Day, Jumpin' General Gavin and his M1 rifle jumped into France with the 82nd Airborne Division. As always, he was the first one out of the plane. The jumps were scattered over an area 3 or 4 times larger than planned by bad weather and German anti-aircraft fire. Ironically, this gave the Germans the impression of a much larger force. Although 2 regiments of the division missed their drop zones entirely, the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment jumped accurately and captured its objective, the town of Sainte-Mère-Église, which proved essential to the success of the division. Around 2 miles west of Sainte-Mère-Église, the next objective for General Gavin and the scattered elements of the 82nd Airborne was to seize and hold the Lafayette Causeway and Bridge that controlled movement west of Utah Beach. The stone bridge at Lafayette became the focal point of intense combat, where elements of the 82nd Airborne Division fought to secure a crossing against German defenses. Though costly and chaotic, the battle at Lafayette became a testament to airborne adaptability and Gavin's resilient command under fire. His personal bravery and inspiring leadership at this critical moment was later recognized with the Distinguished Service Cross, the Army's second highest award for valor. Gavin and the 82nd Airborne are still remembered today at Lafayette Memorial Park with a statue of Iron Mike and a dedication to General Gavin. On September 17, 1944, Brigadier General Gavin's 4th jump was during the ill-fated Operation Market Garden in the Netherlands, suffering another injury on a hard pavement landing. A few days later, a doctor told him he was fine, but a more thorough checkup 5 years later revealed he had fractured 2 spinal discs. Although in constant pain, Brigadier General Gavin's presence with the assault echelon encouraged and inspired our troops, and his personal leadership at a critical moment resulted in the shattering of the enemy attempts to break through our lines. For his gallantry in action, he received the Silver Star. Gavin was promoted to Major General in October 1944, thus at age 37 becoming the youngest Major General to command an American division in World War II. General Gavin, commanding the U.S. 82nd Airborne Division, rapidly transformed his airborne troops into mobile ground fighters when the German Ardennes offensive began on December 16, 1944. Deploying his division to the northern shoulder of the Bulge, Gavin plugged critical gaps, held key crossroads, and conducted delaying actions in harsh winter conditions. Gavin's leadership in the Ardennes cemented his reputation for aggressive, adaptive command and for using elite airborne units effectively as conventional infantry. On May 2, 1945, the 82nd Airborne Division encountered the Vaubeline concentration camp. General Gavin was horrified by the camp and its 1,000 inmates who had starved to death. He made the Germans lay the corpse of the inmates in the center of the town, and then he forced the entire population of the town to march past the bodies and to bury them. After the war in France had ended, Major General Matthew Ridgway, commander of the 82nd Airborne, was given command of the 18th Airborne Corps, and General Gavin succeeded him, becoming the youngest division commander in the U.S. Army.
Major General James Gavin, 38-year-old West Pointer and youngest division commander in the U.S. Army, stands by with his men in the rendezvous area, waiting for his division's last H-hour in World War II. This is the jump-off. This is Operation Homecoming, the last official mission of the all-American 82nd Airborne Division. Their objective, the 4.5-mile parade route through New York City, the largest big-time victory parade since Pershing AEF down Fifth Avenue in 1919. 4 million people have lined the sidewalks to see G.I. Joe on parade, to see victory marching down the street to become history.
The newly divorced James Gavin married his second wife, Gina Merritt, from Knoxville, Tennessee on July 31, 1948. They began building a family together. Gavin ended up with 4 daughters. Being a paratrooper dad, he trained his daughters to jump off their roof into a snowbank. Later in his career, Gavin was promoted to Lieutenant General and Chief of Research and Development in the Army, September 1955. As he had been in World War II, Gavin continued to be an innovative Army leader. He promoted such revolutionary ideas such as use of satellites, sky cavalry, and helicopters. In 1958, James Gavin left the Army and joined Arthur D. Little, a Cambridge, Massachusetts firm which specialized in technology, management consulting, R&D, and innovation. His roles there included vice president and later president and CEO. In 1961, close friend President John F. Kennedy appointed James Gavin as United States Ambassador to France. Kennedy felt Lieutenant General Gavin, the renowned World War II airborne commander, could improve relations with French President Charles de Gaulle. Gavin served from 1961 to 1962. He eventually resigned because he didn't speak fluent French and he disliked the role. In August 1962, Gavin returned to Arthur D. Little as president. As a lover of technology, he spent time helping the post-Sputnik U.S. space program with Wernher von Braun. After Gavin's retirement from Arthur D. Little, somehow Gavin found time to write 5 books, including Airborne Warfare, War and Peace in the Space Age, and On to Berlin. During his 38 years in the U.S. Army, General James M. Gavin, the famous jumping general of the 82nd Airborne during World War II, received numerous high honors, including 2 Distinguished Service Crosses, 2 Silver Stars, the Purple Heart, and a British Distinguished Service Order, making him one of the most decorated U.S. Army officers of his era. Lieutenant General James Gavin died on February 23, 1990, at age 82. He's buried at his alma mater, the United States Military Academy Cemetery, West Point, New York. Fortunately for the Army, his legacy will carry on.
Welcome to this evening's ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Lieutenant General James M. Gavin Joint Innovation Outpost.
Innovation is central to the military profession. Those who innovate better than others win.
This facility serves as a collaborative hub for the military, academia, and industry partners to develop technology and solutions for the U.S. Army.
And the whole Gavin family says thank you for opening this post in his name.
Lieutenant General James M. Jumpin' Jim Gavin, legendary 82nd Airborne Commander, offered sharp leadership insights, emphasizing action and presence. Show me a man who will jump out of an airplane, and I'll show you a man who will fight. If history can be taught with stories, it can never be forgotten. Please like our video, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell to stay informed on the latest video. And don't forget to leave your comments below and tell us what you like about this video.